Habits are the building blocks of life, and habits are the building blocks of routines. And so routines are so powerful because routines are intentionally creating sequences of events and in different parts of our day that allow us to put ourselves on a good, intentional kind of autopilot so that we can free up that decision-making fuel for other more important things in our lives.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm Jenn Trepic, your host and health coach, here with you every week for Wellness Without the Weirdness. And this time of year, most of us are focused on routines. We're into the school year, it's Q4 for the rest of us, and it's all about following that path from here to New Year's. Am I right? And with this season, we are headed into a time of holiday after holiday that seems to disrupt all of those routines. So joining us today, I have the queen of routines to talk about how she helps people keep moving forward. Let me introduce you. She's a highly sought after time management coach and keynote speaker, top 1% globally ranked podcast host of It's About Time, and the founder of the It's About Time Academy. A true Louisiana firecracker who has become known for making time management fun. She helps busy professionals and business owners struggling with overwhelm manage their time using her personally driven HEART method. Building on more than a decade of experience in the fast-moving, high-stakes world of political and crisis communications, it's no surprise that she thrives on creating order out of chaos. Early in her career, she wrangled media for a lieutenant governor and managed the hectic schedule of a U.S. congressman. Her rapid response background and relentless approach to problem solving position her as the go-to expert for purpose-driven time management for busy professionals. Without further ado, I give you Anna Dearmon Kornick.
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so much fun.
It is. I know. We are like kindred spirits, I feel like. And I love your story because different world, but I feel like I also managed chaos in my previous life. But I want to hear more about all of that and your story. Really quick, though, let's tell our members what they're getting and then we can dig into it all. So members, your recipe this week is for pumpkin pie chia pudding. Right? I see your face. You're like,
sounds amazing.
I know. Could be dessert. Could be breakfast.
I was thinking breakfast.
Yeah. It is absolutely delicious, seasonal, gluten-free, free of refined sugar, all the things that you want it to be. And thanks to Anna, our members are getting a complimentary call with her. So a free 1 hour with Anna, our time management queen of routines. I'm naming you that. I don't know that that's really a thing.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So you're going to hear more about all of this. But Anna, give us like the 30-second version of what someone might expect in their call with you.
Yeah. So I wholeheartedly believe that good time management doesn't start on the pages of our planner. It starts by getting crystal clear and getting to the heart about what matters most to us. And a lot of times in our busy lives, we don't have time to just sit around and think about our vision for the future. And so that's where we start in a call together. And so that's a little taste of what you can expect, carving out time for the things that you don't have time to do by yourself.
Love it. I know accountability is huge. So friends, if you want this recipe or this call with Anna, today's featured guest, be sure you're a member. You're going to go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries for just $10 a month. You get weekly recipes, a monthly article or tool, extra discounts from me and our partners, plus access to live Q&A sessions. It's a total deal. I say it all the time. It's a steal because you save far more than that $10 cost and you take advantage of everything that you get. It's a no-brainer way to show yourself that your health is a priority. Plus, your membership supports this podcast and this community because all I want to do is keep doing this. So help us do that, right? All you have to do is go to glow.fm/salad with a side of fries, or even easier, click the link that's in the episode notes on the app where you're listening right now. You can click now. Once you're there, you click I agree and then support now. enter your email and payment info, click subscribe. It takes all of maybe a minute, depending on how well you know your payment info. And then you're all set. You'll get this week's recipe for the pumpkin pie chia pudding and your complimentary call with Anna, today's featured guest. Okay, so spotlight on you. We heard a little bit of your story and your bio, but like, what did you learn from working for the congressman and lieutenant governor that you saw was a piece of what the rest of us actually need?
So I got to say, my eyes were absolutely opened in my very first job in DC on Capitol Hill. So I'm from Louisiana, and I thought I was the coolest thing ever up in DC on Capitol Hill in my brand new navy Banana Republic skirt suit and my high heels click-clacking around the marble halls of Congress, being fully in charge of managing someone else's schedule. So as a congressman, you are literally pulled in 1,000 different directions by 1,000 different people every single day. And so my inbox every single day, I probably spent what felt like 10 to 12 hours parked in front of an Outlook calendar fielding requests. It was meeting requests from constituents back in the district. There were policy pros on K Street who wanted to bend his ear about the latest piece of legislation. Not to mention there were, committee schedules and voting schedules. And there were fundraisers and dinner invitations and speaking invitations and reception invitations. And it just never ended. And so brand new to professional life in general, I was suddenly thrust into this role where I had to manage every single minute of my boss's day, from the time he woke up in the morning until he went to bed at night on the leather sofa in his office. Because, fun fact, a lot of our elected members of Congress sleep in their offices to save money on expensive apartment rent in DC. So, fun fact there. And every day, as a scheduler to a congressman, creating an itinerary for someone who had to be in 20 places at once, it was pure chaos. Every single day was some type of crisis or curveball that had to be managed. We could plan the most meticulously managed day, and then the vote bells would go off and it would all go up in smoke. And not only that, Jen, my very first week in this role, I put together the most beautiful calendar anyone had ever seen for a congressman. And about mid-morning, the chief of staff comes over to my desk and says, "Anna, we have a problem." And my heart sank. I was terrified. I didn't know what could have happened. And he let me know, so the congressman is not a robot and he needs to take bathroom breaks. Jen, I had scheduled this poor man's day so back to back that there was no time in his day to be an actual real person. And so that was an incredibly important lesson.
Yeah, but I have to tell you something. We do that to ourselves.
We do.
And by we, I mean me, like both hands in the air. Especially right now, I am traveling like every weekend. And so the days when I'm in New York are literally, I was like, oh, I didn't going to the bathroom, eating food. What are those things?
What are those things? And by the way, that is, if you're familiar with the Enneagram, that is such an Enneagram 3 trait, is to just put that off until later on your to-do list. But it was a lot of fun being in DC. But one thing that I really started to learn as a young professional who thought I was going to be in DC for 7 to 10 years, like that was my life plan. But I really started to miss home. I missed my family. I missed Louisiana. I missed all the good things that I couldn't get when I was in DC. I'm sure, like, I missed boiled crawfish and crawfish etouffee and shrimp creole and jambalaya and all that good stuff. But what I really missed was being able to run down the road and have a biscuit and mayhaw jelly with my grandmother whenever I wanted. And I couldn't do that when I was in DC. And I didn't realize until I left how important that was to me, because a lot of times we don't realize what our values truly are as adults until we realize that something's missing. A lot of times when you're in a job that you hate, you don't realize that this doesn't align with your values until you're in it. And I'm not saying I hated the job. I'm just an example.
Right. Well, it's like we make these choices because we think we're going to enjoy it and it's what we're supposed to do. And then we realize that something's missing.
Oh, something is missing. So I moved back home. I hopped on a plane, moved back to Louisiana, where I kicked off a 10-year career in the 24/7 world of crisis communications and government affairs, where, surprise, surprise, every day was a disaster. I'm talking hurricanes, obviously, Louisiana, hurricanes, oil spills. I worked on the BP oil spill, not for BP, but I worked in conjunction with it. Plus, there were tornadoes and earthquakes. There were floods and droughts. I've done both. Nonprofit embezzlement schemes, universities on the brink of financial collapse, plant explosions. And then there was this one nude swimming scandal at a restaurant that just about broke me.
Oh
and
my God.
Jen, like those words don't go together.
Right. I mean, I have so many questions.
We'll save that for another episode.
Yeah.
But every single day was some kind of chaos to be brought to order. And again, I loved it, just like I loved doing the type of work that I did in DC. And I was really good at it. But sometimes, whenever you are so just involved, ingrained, and you throw so much of yourself into your work, I'm sure everybody maybe has experienced this at some point, you really start to lose pieces of yourself along the way, especially when you're in a crisis situation and you are there for someone who is in the worst experience that they have ever had in their entire life. They don't know if their business is going to make it to the other side. They don't know if their reputation is going to be salvaged from this, not to mention the money that they're losing along the way. It is tough for people. And you shoulder so much of that when you are in a crisis communications role. If you are someone who is compassionate and has empathy, you can't help it. And so I realized that in my pursuit of being the best that I could be in that one area of my life, I was stumbling massively in every other area. My health was crumbling because I wasn't eating well, certainly wasn't working out, wasn't taking care of myself. My relationships were in shambles because I was missing important events for my friends, like baby showers and wedding parties. I was missing family events and birthday parties, and the exact things that I moved home to be a part of, I was missing them. And finally, one morning, after just crying in the stairwell and on the way up to my windowless office for the last time, I was like, something's got to give here, because this is not the life that I want to live. This is not the way that things are going to work for me. And so very shortly after that, I walked away from what so many people thought was this super cool, prestigious, sexy career in crisis comms in search of whatever was next. And that led me down a total rabbit hole of how on earth are we supposed to live our lives without being completely crushed by overwhelm and confusion? And
right.
I mean, they don't make it easy to figure that out.
Frankly, in anything, right? Like this whole show is about clearing up that confusion and wellness. But the reality is that exists in everything in our world now.
Everything. So I would pick up one book, as many people do when they're trying to improve something or change something in their lives. I mean, the same thing happens with nutrition and wellness. You pick up one book, and then that leads you to 3 more, which leads you to 3 more. But it was actually an email in my spam folder that truly led me to where I am today, because I was randomly checking my spam folder, unemployed, after leaving that role. And it was about a workshop coming to New Orleans to certify people as Myers-Briggs practitioners. So Myers-Briggs personality assessment based on Carl Jung's personality theory. I've always been a huge personality quiz geek ever since, like the Teen Beat Circle C, if it's this, quizzes, like loved stuff like that forever. And after I realized that it was real and not a fake email, I signed up, I went, I became a Myers-Briggs practitioner, and I was introduced to this entire world of coaching that I didn't even realize existed. And I didn't know why I was there. I couldn't tell you what I was going to do with it. And someone asked me, what are you going to do with this certification? And what fell out of my mouth was, I want to help women who are completely overwhelmed and overloaded with life manage their time better somehow with this assessment. And now that is literally what I do every single day. It's a thing. I made it a thing. And so now that's exactly what I get to do every day as a time management coach.
I love it. And you're big on routines. I'm big on routines. I think it's one of the ways that we can manage our time better and make room for the things that are important and still have time to go to the bathroom. But I also think we need to hear things different ways at different times from different people. So will you share with us why you're such a big fan of routines?
Oh my goodness. So Any discussion about routines starts with a quick refresher on habits. There are different numbers around this, but we spend likely more than half of our days just engaged in habit-based behavior. We are living a lot of our life on autopilot in that we are following the same well-worn paths throughout our day. Some of those habits are good habits. Some of those habits are neutral. Some of them are not so good. And putting yourself on a good kind of autopilot can be a really great thing because the less energy you put toward decision making, the less decision fatigue you're carrying. And that means that your decisions are actually better in the long run because you're putting your energy toward the decisions that matter. And so habits are the building blocks of our routines. If habits are the building blocks of life and habits are the building blocks of routines. And so routines are so powerful because routines are intentionally creating sequences of events and in different parts of our day that allow us to put ourselves on a good, intentional kind of autopilot so that we can free up that decision-making fuel for other more important things in our lives.
Yeah. And it's what's coming up is even something that you mentioned before of like, we feel like we don't even have the time sometimes to pause and even reflect on those kinds of things. And so many I see it with my clients, myself, right? Like I've removed the word busy from my vocabulary. The same way, I talk about is we're the only species that deprives ourselves of sleep for no good reason. I think we wear busy. I know for me, it became like this default word where somebody would say, how are you? And instead of saying good, I would say busy.
The best, Jen, is when people say busy. Oh, but it's a good busy.
Yeah. Let's debunk that a second.
But it's a good busy.
What's your take on busy and good busy?
Oh my gosh. So I do think that there is such thing as being busy because it means that you have a likely full schedule. You have a lot of different things on your plate. There is no denying that anyone who is a mom with multiple kids who is also running a business also is experiencing some type of busyness. But where we really get into trouble is when we make busy a core part of our personality and a core part of our identity. And being busy and telling other people how busy we are becomes a badge of honor. I mean, people say busy is not a badge of honor. And, I say that's something that I share on my podcast. But the fact is that it is true. It is a thing that people do. And they believe that if they are busy and that if others believe that they are busy, then it means that they are in demand and it means that they are worthwhile and that they are good. And, we are all trying to fill some kind of hole that we have, whether it is feeling worthy or feeling good or feeling unique. And so often being busy ends up being an attempt to fill that hole.
Yeah. And it's striking me too. Like I used to have this connection that successful people are busy.
Successful people are taking naps.
Right. Sleep is the new status.
Yes.
Sleep is the new wealth, right? All of that. Like my thing now is like, success is not needing to do anything.
Exactly.
Right? But it's interesting because we're talking about routines. We're talking about, all the stuff that we put into our day and even what you experienced in your former roles. It was Robert Burns, right? The best laid plans go awry.
Yeah, they do.
So how do you see the role of routines given that life is going to life and the best laid plans go awry?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, accepting the fact that life is going to life, that we are always going to get curveballs is one thing, because the sooner you can recognize that, the easier it is to bounce back whenever you get one. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, I'm sure. But routines end up serving as the absolute foundation of your day that everything else builds upon. When I work with my clients, I like to use the boulders, big rocks, and pebbles analogy for our priorities. And our routines are a type of boulder because when we have a solid morning routine in place that enables us to start our day on the right foot, when we have a solid evening routine in place that enables us to get that solid 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night, when we have the weekly planning session, our startup, our shutdown, any other routines that you have, all of those serve as the foundation for you to build on top of with big rocks. Big rocks being those needle moving project-based things in our lives that get us closer toward our goals. And if we don't have those routines in place, we're just kind of flailing. We're winging it. We're going into each day just not really sure what's going to happen. And the interesting thing, Jen, is that even if you think that you don't have a morning routine, you still have one, because hitting the snooze button and crawling out of bed and throwing on clothes before you head over to your laptop, that is still a morning routine. But is it the routine that's actually going to set you up for success?
Right. And then you add to those routines that may or may not set us up for success, the things that throw us off kilter, off course, right? Yeah. And so that's where I know you have the CURVE method. And of course, it's an acronym, which, like, again, we're kindred spirits. So the CURVE method is really what's helping us when life goes haywire, right? So I want to walk through that framework after we take a quick break to highlight our partner for this episode. Big thanks to DNA Miracles for supporting Salad with a Side of Fries, because every child is a miracle. DNA Miracles provides the highest quality body and wellness products designed for babies, children, and expectant mothers. All products are gentle, easy to use, and 100% effective when used as directed. DNA Miracles partner with leading health professionals and scientists who follow the highest standards in ingredient selection to create the most effective skin, hair, and health solutions. As natural as possible, DNA Miracles is the best and safest option on the market for you and your little miracle. From expert pediatricians to real family testimonials, everyone has fallen in love with DNA Miracles. So today we're talking about routines and how to keep going when things go awry. Kids thrive on routines too. So I see it over and over how kids can benefit from a high quality multivitamin included in their morning routine. So that's why DNA Miracles created 3 different multivitamins for the littles in your life. 1's a chewable, 2 are isotonic capable, which means improved bioavailability. And the DNA Miracles Isotonics Multivitamin Plus was formulated to support the needs of children who need particular nutritional support in the areas of digestive, neurological, and metabolic health. So truly phenomenal formulas to set up the kids in your life for success each day. And you can level up with the DNA Miracles Essential Omega-3. Absolutely delicious. It tastes like a creamsicle. They're going to love it. You might need to hide it. I know your littles are worth a couple dollars a day. And of course, that's before your discount for being a Salad with a Side of Fries listener. So to get 10% off and free shipping, text the word MIRACLES, MIRACLES, to 844-947-4846. You'll receive the link and coupon code right to your phone. Again, simply text the word MIRACLES, MIRACLES, plural with an S, MIRACLES, to 844-947-4846. This is a toll-free number. Standard text and data rates may apply. Okay, Anna, best laid plans go awry. CURVE method is to help us when things fall apart. Not if, but when.
100%. And I'm just going to tell you, discovered the CURVE method one morning at the gym when I received a phone call that there was I don't even want to say the word out loud, lice outbreak at my daughter's daycare. Okay. That's the only time I'm going to say it. That's it. And I remember thinking, okay, I've got to cancel all of my meetings today. I've got to pull my 5-year-old out of her camp. I've got to call my husband and get him involved. We're going to have to clean the whole house. So my mind starts going into problem solving mode. I mean, that's just what we do. It's like crisis communication mode, but it's not just me. It's not just that background. It's mom mode. That's what we do. And I realized that, okay, what can I control here? What can I control? And so at the end of this crazy day, which, by the way, we ended up not having it at all, which was a delight.
Amazing.
I looked back on how I had basically walked through this completely insane day and still felt really calm along the way. Because let's be honest, it's a very unsettling, stressful, yucky situation. You know, when we have our entire day planned, we get a phone call, the best laid plans go awry. How are we going to deal with that? And we can absolutely spiral. We can freak out. We can, freeze. But when I looked back on how I spent the day, I recognized a pattern. And amazingly enough, it spells out the word CURVE. I mean, couldn't get any better than that, right? So the C is for control. And I realized that I asked myself immediately, okay, what can I control about this situation? And I can control my response. I can control my attitude. I can control the way that I approach this. It's up to me if I want to react and spiral or if I want to respond and carefully think through how to deal with the day. I decided that I could also control the environment for my girls because this was probably going to be a scary situation for them. And so I thought, how can I make this fun for them? And so that looked like picking up a coffee for me. That looked like picking them up from school and camp and grabbing a McDonald's Happy Meal for both of them, which is not something we do often. Like, we're not big Happy Meal people, but this is extenuating circumstances.
Yes, right.
Let's get Happy Meals. And I asked my husband to queue up, he works from home as well. I asked him to queue up the Knits episode of Bluey on Disney Plus so that as soon as they walked in the house, they could sit down at the little table, eat their Happy Meals, and watch this episode about knits before the rest of the day played out. So first, that C is control. Then the U is understand. Because I realized after I determined, okay, I can control my attitude. What do I need to understand about this predicament that I am in? And it was, I need to understand, what do I need to do here? How do we need to clean this up? Like, what are the possibilities? What are the contacts that we need? Like, what do I need to understand? From there, that leads you to the R, which is resources. What resources do I need to respond to this situation? Well, I knew that we needed a blog post or two about how to clean this up. I knew that we needed to reach out to a family member about a resource that they had. By the way, there are professional nitpickers. I'm going to just let you know. And so
there's a business in everything.
Yes. Within 15 minutes, we had a professional nitpicker booked to come to our house and take care of everything for us. But we had to understand, what resources do we need in order to bounce back from this curveball? The next thing is the V, which is vital. I had to ask myself, what is the most vital thing that I need to do in this scenario? And for me, the most vital thing was to be there for my girls. So that looked like canceling all of my meetings for the day. That looked like just making sure that I was focusing on what was most important. Because a lot of times when we're in curveball mode, we're just kind of throwing spaghetti at everything. And we're not really taking that second to think about, okay, what's really most important here? And then the last part, the E, is for enlist. Who can I ask for help? Who can I enlist for help? Again, a lot of times when we're in curveball mode, we take everything upon ourselves and we think, okay, well, I have to handle this. I have to do all of it to make sure that it's done right. Absolutely not. That's what our village is for. That's what our family, that's what our friends are for. And so I reached out to, of course, my husband. Hey, can you do this? Can you prep this? Can you start the laundry? Can you do this? Reached out to the sister-in-law. Hey, can you provide me with this phone number? Because it takes all of the pressure off of us. And sure, I realized that this was my process while I was going through a particularly yucky situation. But I have found over and over again that if I look back on crisis communications situations that I've walked through, I've essentially followed the same exact path every time. What can we control? What do we need to understand? What resources do we need? What's most vital in this moment? And whose help can we enlist to bounce back from this? And so when you have an actual method, when you have an actual framework to think through, you're able to bring so much more clarity and calm to the crazy situations. And when you've got those routines in place, when you have a plan in place, it gives you a track to get back on whenever you've been knocked off track.
Yeah, it's so interesting. So as you're going through this, what's striking me is like there are some situations where I could probably get through, all 5 pieces in a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And then there's other scenarios and other people I know where they can end up sort of ruminating in that understand part.
Yeah. Yes.
What do you see as sort of like the range in that? And how can we help make this faster and simpler so that we could get back moving forward quicker?
Great question. Give yourself a limit. Give yourself a limit. I had a client who was, for example, researching new project management platforms because her old one broke or she lost access to it or whatever. That was kind of her crisis. And I encouraged her, look at 3 options, only 3. That's it. Limit it. Give yourself a limit because it's true. We absolutely can spiral in analysis paralysis, education procrastination mode where we're just dancing around the understanding part without moving forward. And so it's important to give yourself a limit. I could have perused 500 different blog posts about what to do in my scenario, but that wouldn't have helped anything because then I would still be looking at blog posts. So giving yourself a limit, which can be tough, but just saying, okay, I'm going to look at 3 things and then move on.
I love that. The other thing that's striking me, going back to our conversation about routines, there's a piece of all of this too, where I think, if also what helps you feel in control of your day and your life is maintaining some of your routines, then that is where we enlist the support. So if somebody else needs to pick up your kids so that you can get your activity in that day, that is just as valid and potentially vital as anything else that's specifically connected to the curveball.
Right.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think that it takes me back to grade school. When we were in elementary school, we weren't supposed to look at our neighbor's paper. We weren't supposed to get help with homework, or we were supposed to do all of our own work, or else it didn't count. And I realized that I was carrying a lot of that same belief, that same way of operating into adulthood, that same belief of if I'm not doing it myself, then it doesn't count. But the truth is that after you graduate from whatever schooling, life is an open book test. And it's not even a test. There is no pass fail, but it's all completely open book. And it makes so much more sense to learn from other people and to get help from other people instead of just trying to do it all yourself because you feel like it doesn't count if you don't do it all yourself.
Yeah. So, give us an example, walk us through the curve method with something like I mentioned, like Halloween is coming up, Thanksgiving, like all of these things that have potential to really derail, where we're headed between now and the end of the year.
Yes. Okay. So you think about Halloween, for example, the week of Halloween, we probably have kids with parties at school. We may be invited to parties and events. Our neighborhood might experience road closures for Halloween. There are all kinds of different things that can get in our way and get in the way of the goals that we have for ourselves. Staying consistent with movement, staying consistent with our nutrition and health goals. I mean, those pumpkin Reese's cups are very tempting. And so you can approach it in the same way. So saying, okay, we have a busy week coming up, and a great time to do this is during your weekly planning session routine, asking yourself, okay, this week is going to be haywire. What can I control? Okay, I can control what time I wake up each morning. I can control the meal planning that I do today based on what the week looks like. I can control when I get in my workouts. I can control how I lay out my week around all of these, activities that are outside of the norm. Then, what do I need to understand about the week? That then brings you to, okay, do I need to calculate drive time from point A to point B for this event that I don't typically have in my week? Maybe you're room momming for your kid's school party. I need to understand, what are my responsibilities here? I need to understand, what is that true time commitment rather than just what you assume it to be? And then resources. Okay, how can you enlist help? I have a friend who is room momming for her daughter's class this year, and she was tasked with creating the class pumpkin. And she has outsourced creating the class pumpkin to her friend who has an art studio. Perfect. Did you know there are no rules against that? You can just do that if you want to.
I know. I love it.
So what resources? And I mean, that also kind of goes under enlist as well. Who can you ask for help? If you know that you're going to have an incredibly tightly scheduled day, can you ask a family member or a babysitter to do pickup, to do car line, to take on some things so that you are able to walk through your week in a way that is intentional and planned? And I know I skipped over the V, but going back to vital, what really is the most important part of these festivities? Is it just getting through the week, or is it creating a magical experience for your family? It's up for you to decide. It can be whatever you want it to be. But when you take the time to actually think through and answer the question, you're going to be so much more equipped to create that when the time does come.
Yeah. I love it. And I love thinking about this also not in the moment of like pure urgency, but the idea of like as we're planning things out. I can also picture the person who feels like they are always needing the curve method. And that more times than not, right? They're focused on the curve method versus some of their routines. So what do you say to the person who's potentially beating themselves up because they feel like they constantly need this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's kind of two things here. The first is that sometimes we are just in a season that is haywire. Your kids get sick over and over and over again, which is disrupting your work. The server goes out, which has your day completely blown up. Your neighbors are putting in a pool and plumbing for the entire neighborhood gets shut off. Sometimes you are just in a season of things happening. And when you find that you are in that season, remember, it's just a season. It's probably not going to be forever, which can be helpful. But while you're in the thick of it, it can be really, really tough. And while you're in the thick of it, look for those glimmers of when you can stick to a routine, because something is going to be better than nothing. Having some kind of plan is going to be so much better than winging it. But if you find that you are constantly putting out fires, you are constantly being thrown curveballs, I would really encourage you to take a look at what is causing these curveballs. Are they truly external factors like a kid getting sick? You can't control that. Or the plumbing going out in your neighborhood. You can't control that. But are the curveballs that you are catching a result of a lack of planning, a lack of forethought, a lack of a clear vision, a lack of consistency in your schedule? Because if you realize that those curveballs might be because of you, sorry.
With all the love.
I know, I mean that.
I'm the problem. What Taylor Swift, right? Like it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Sometimes those curveballs can be avoided with the right routines in place. And I don't want you to feel bad. I do not want you to beat yourself up. I don't want you to just feel like, oh, well, this is just what life is like for me, because it doesn't have to be that way. Sometimes just getting one single routine in place can give you the consistency and the space to create that plan that is going to ward off those curveballs before they even come your way.
Yeah. And to your point, like maybe we're in a place where like those routines that we have in place no longer fit. And it's an indication of needing to adjust some of those.
100%. I mean, I had the most amazing morning routine for years where I would get up at 5 a.m. and I would read, meditate, and do affirmations and visualizations. But that ended really abruptly in January of 2019. And I have a 5-year-old daughter now. So,
right.
I mean, what worked then doesn't work now. And that's okay. Every single time our kids get a little bit older, our routines and the way that we spend our time has to change and evolve with it. Every time you change jobs, if you move, if you get a puppy, you get a fish, it doesn't matter. Every time something in our life changes, the way that we think about our time has to adapt and evolve with it. And that can be really frustrating, especially because a lot of us really like to set it and forget it. We like to make the decision once and have that routine work perfectly forever. That's just not the way it is. We have to be flexible and we have to adapt because life is going to change all around us, whether we want it to or not.
Yeah. 1,000% for anybody, our members who got the Bullseye Change download, right? What we're talking about is that environment ring that's outside the entire piece of, that bullseye. When that changes, all the other elements require rethinking. Okay, Anna, it's about time for our rapid fire off topic questions. But a final thought, anything that we missed or anything you want to share?
Gosh, I just want to encourage you that if the idea of getting routines set up in your life feels daunting or overwhelming, just start with one. Just start with your morning routine and really get that dialed in, and you'll see the ripple effect that comes across your entire life.
1,000%. I could not agree more. Okay. Rapid fire off topic questions. I ask every expert. Prepare yourself. Okay. What's the best thing you've done for your health this week? What's the naughtiest thing you've done related to your health this week? Because balance.
Okay. Honestly, the best thing that I did for my health this week is I did not go to the gym on Tuesday morning as I planned because I had a night out with my girlfriends on Monday night to celebrate a birthday. And I wanted the extra sleep. So that is the best thing I've done. The naughtiest thing I did after my husband left to go pick my daughter up from school yesterday, I ate 2 bowls of Lucky Charms cereal. And this
Sounds
morning,
delicious.
What magically delicious, in fact. It's gluten-free, by the way. Did you know, like Lucky Charms is gluten-free. Love that. And then this morning, my daughters woke up and wanted Lucky Charms for breakfast. And
Oops.
I ate the last bit of it. So that's probably the naughtiest thing that I did.
I love it. All right. If you weren't a time management expert and coach, what would you do?
That's so hard because I would actually be a time management coach if that's not what I would. I would probably be a professional organizer, which is time management coach adjacent.
Yes, I see that. Your favorite book on any topic other than your area of expertise.
Okay.
Or you could give us a fiction book.
Okay, sure. So my favorite book on any topic, normally I say The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, but I feel like that might be a little bit too adjacent to my work. So I'll say I read the book Breath by James Nestor, I believe is his name. Either way, the name of the book is called Breath. I read that earlier this year. My husband got it for me for Christmas, and it's totally changed my life.
Love it.
Love it. Yeah, it's great. I do breath work like all the time now.
Perfect. All right. If you could cure one ailment, disease, or sickness, what would it be?
Oh my gosh. Can I just say cancer and leave it at that?
Yes, it's a popular one.
Actually, I want to take it back. No offense to cancer. Dementia. I actually would really like to cure that because
it's hard.
There have been so many members of my family who have been impacted by it. And it's been really tough to see just really, really sharp people just experience that decline. And so I think that's what I would want to cure.
Yeah. If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
I would be able to read minds.
Ooh, okay. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Okay, my biggest pet peeve is when people blow their noses sitting at the table in a restaurant.
It's amazing.
It's terrible. Like, why?
I get it.
I don't care if you have a nice hanky, but no, just go away.
I love it. All right, last one. In your opinion, what's the next frontier in wellness?
Oh, I feel like everyone is talking about AI right now. So I think we'll continue to see more incorporation of AI into the way that we diagnose and create personalized care plans, whether it's a preventative or whatever the opposite of preventative is. Cannot think of the word right now. I think we're going to continue to see more AI. And I really want to see more work done in the area of educating regarding hormones and perimenopause.
Yes. Amazing. Well, Anna, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody how to connect with you, where to find your, all of your things.
Thank you so much. I'm still nervous from answering those questions. So if you're listening to a podcast right now, you're in luck because I have a podcast too. It's called It's About Time. I have new episodes that go live every single Monday. So if you've got your podcast app open, just go ahead, hop over, search for It's About Time, hit that follow button so that the episode pops into your feed next time there's a new one, and you won't even have to look for it. It'll just be there. So tune into It's About Time. And then you can come find me on Instagram if you would like to check out what, the tips that I share over there and see what a day in the life looks like for a time management coach. It is rousing and wild and super fun.
Right. Yeah.
I've also got a special treat for your audience today. So if you've ever struggled with overwhelm, which I'm just raising my hand because I also know what that's like, I put together a totally free video course all about beating overwhelm in only 4 days. Yes, it is possible. So it's called Blueprint to Balance, and it walks you through a super simple method to going from overwhelmed to organized. And I know you're going to provide the link for that, but if you want to head straight to blueprinttobalance.com, it's right there waiting for you.
Love it. We'll put links to everything in the episode notes, and shameless plug, because we're going to do a collab for It's About Time.
Yes.
Also. So
cannot wait.
Join us over there. Just thank you again for being here. Truly appreciate your energy and your enthusiasm and the way that you break it down and help all of us. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. This has been such a treat.
Likewise. And friends, on Friday in this week's Nutrition Nugget, we're talking about Gatorade protein bars. Have you seen these?
No.
Okay, yeah. So who knew that Gatorade expanded into protein bars? Turns out it happened like 20 plus years ago, but who knew? Anyway, I saw them on social media and I was like, I need to look at these. So we're going to look at them together on Friday in this week's bonus episode, Nutrition Nugget. So be sure wherever you're listening, click the plus sign or the follow button, and then your app will alert you when it goes live on Friday morning. All right. Well, as always, everybody, I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. Pick your platform, send a message. My favorite thing is hearing from you. So send your ideas, your takeaways, your questions. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your health coach. Anna Dearmon Kornick, thank you one more time for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun, Jen.
So much fun. And friend, if you're not already, join our membership by going to glow.fm/saladwithasideoffries. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and most importantly, it supports your health. You'll get this week's recipe for the pumpkin pie chia pudding and a complimentary call with time management expert Anna Dearmon Kornick, this week's featured guest. So until next week, remember, we're headed into a season that can be a time of excuse after excuse, or a time when you commit to keep moving forward. So when life feels off the rails, just follow the curve. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.